Hello, I'm back. There's a little bit different setup. This is being recorded now in an actual recording studio, my dad's basement. Welcome to another episode of I Got a Lot of Things to Say. I'm your host, Kia Dotson, and we are back with a favorite, my friend Geronimo Roman. And tonight we are going to be talking about the Rolling Stone article about Sean Diddy Combs. So let's get into it. Woo chow. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, really was the same. When I first heard about the article, I was kind of in the catch up stage because I was trying to catch up on all the other stuff that had been mentioned. Um, I was like catching up on the video footage, and I saw the apology. So then when I found out about the article, I was like, oh, somebody did an expose. Oh, let me see what Rolling Stone did. And that Rolling Stone article, um, I was like, okay, so this is just a paper trail of violence. Okay, all right. Well, it explains a lot. It breaks
Yeah,
down everything. You get this. I think from the article, you get the sense that to me, it was two things. My initial takeaway from the article was that you're getting the sense of a man whose quest for power started at a very young age, started even at his internship days.
hmm
That power tend to become so pervasive for him that it had to be present in everything he did, not only from his professional relationships but also his interpersonal relationships, which is
yes,
obviously indicative of what we're dealing with him at this moment. Um, so I think that Rolling Stone did a great job covering like the years of violence that led up to this, and to me, I feel like ultimately it leaves a bigger question. It leaves bigger questions to be answered. More importantly, not just like with him, but I've been actually posing a lot of this on TikTok with Diddy situation, with the Kendrick and Drake situation after the fallout of that. Like, it's an indictment of hip hop and the culture that has
yes,
been pervasive within it, and that we have to rectify and reckon with, overall moving forward from this. Because this Rolling Stone article to me wasn't just an indictment of him; it's an indictment of the culture that breeded him and that allowed him
absolutely.
to continue. And of course, I don't know how ready everybody's ready for that conversation.
I always say that certain conversations like this tend to take a little while in the Black community than everywhere else. And I do believe that it's an indictment for people who really don't know what we're talking about. I have the authors' names right here: Cheyenne Roundtree and Nancy Dillon of Rolling Stone did a 6-month investigation on Sean Combs, and it resulted in a really good piece of journalism. I'm a journalism major. I was a journalism minor. My bad. Sorry. I was an English major and journalism minor, and I thought it was a very good piece of investigative journalism. They traced Sean Combs, I refuse to call him Diddy or anything else, through his time from Howard to how he became Diddy, all the way till now, to the whole Cassie situation and his settlement. Um, it was a lot to unpack. And as you said, it is an indictment against a lot of people because, first of all, they interviewed about 50 people within the span of 6 months. Some people decided to use their names, some people didn't. That's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
There were people who went to school with him in Howard. There were people who worked with him. I forgot the name of the first record label he worked with. People that worked with him at Bad Boy. And it pretty much, like most things, it was an open secret. And it also goes to the indictment of how we view women in this situation. Cassie has been raked through the coals called a gold digger and all manner of things. And I just want people to know she got what, $30 million? $30 million does not stop you from triggering. $30 million doesn't stop you from having nightmares. $30 million doesn't stop you from just disassociating or remembering things. So we want to talk about $30 million. That was a drop in the bucket compared to what she had to actually go through and endure, and something that has to stay with her for the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm going to leave that right there for right now. But there was also mention of I read the article a couple weeks ago, and so my memory is a little bit faulty, but I believe there was something along the lines of it was alluded to or implied that maybe it wasn't alluded to or implied, my bad. But the whole thing with Biggie wanting to leave Bad Boy.
Yeah.
Um, and how he really did become famous. Like, he didn't become famous on his own. He kind of became famous because someone on his record label died.
Yeah.
And I think they alluded to that. Like, he did a Rolling Stone article like right around the time of Biggie's death, and he said the only reason I'm paraphrasing, the only reason I'm famous is because this person died. I'm at a loss for words. That article made me really angry and it made me really upset, and for a multitude of reasons. I think the main reason was you had a bunch of people that knew what was going on, didn't say anything, and didn't, from what I read and how I interpreted it, they really didn't try to help her either. You saw this woman get beat up, you saw this woman get sex trafficked, you saw this woman do all these things, and no one said, like, maybe we should help her. I mean, even people in Scientology, once you get tired, can find somebody to help them get out.
Right.
But not this. So let's take it from the beginning. He's been doing this since his days at Howard. There was a very upsetting story about him beating the girl up in the quad. So
Yeah.
this goes to a larger thing of not helping people, because they said no one, I think someone did, like, they were shouting to to stop beating her, but it was like no one really came to the woman's aid. Like, from how I read it, it was they didn't really come to her aid.
Yeah. It looks like when he was at Howard, he was promoting.
Yes.
He was a publicity director, and he was also the parties that he was throwing were very, legendary around Howard, and he would pass out flyers and things like that. And basically, from what they're saying, from what I remember from the article, was that, you know, when he got into this altercation with this woman, nobody really stepped in, nobody stopped. Some people just watched, and it was some people very, I guess, varied tellings of the story. It was just like it was a shock for them because that's not what they knew him as. That's not how he basically showed up around them. So to see this,
Right.
it's like Jekyll and Hyde, and that's pretty much the sentiment that has been shown throughout this entire story. I got
Yes.
you get the feeling that people were seeing Jekyll and Hyde literally reenacted in this entire story from Howard up until now.
Yes.
So I forget the name. I also forget the name of the woman that he got into the altercation with at Howard. But it to
I don't
me,
think she was. So she wasn't. I'm sorry to cut you off. She wasn't named. She didn't want to be named. So
okay,
she did not want to be named. So she doesn't have a name.
okay, yeah, okay, because there was like other women that were named during their time at Howard, and they were talking about the
Hmm.
and apparently uh there was previously unreported incidents that happened before then, like involving unwanted touching, and then
Hmm.
rage is what they described it as. Like he would try to he would try to make a pass at them, they would decline, and he would get upset. which,
Mm-hmm.
like, considering the conversation, I think of the man versus the bear conversation on TikTok immediately. When I was I'm like, uh,
I I so speaking of bear versus man, I started an article about um that I haven't finished, and that's one of the things I need to do. But like life called, and I had to move, and then I had to get settled. But keep going. There's an article, y'all, coming out that I have about the man and the bear. It's coming. I just haven't finished it yet. But y'all, I have ADHD, and my life was a little bit, and now it's settling down. So y'all gonna get it soon. Don't worry about it.
life,
Anyway.
life was lifing. Yeah,
Life was lifing, but
life.
go ahead.
Yeah, but I think there was one woman who also she brought up the fact that she got into an altercation with him because he cut in front of her in the cafeteria line.
Yes, 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 yes.
How you mad because somebody's like, "Hey man, no skips, bro. What you doing?" And you fly off the handle over that. So it's like you're seeing this and you're like, "Oh, this is deeply rooted. This is not just, oh, he got to bad boy, became this mogul, and then all this happened. This was something that has been him, has been in him,
Hmm.
and you always got to think about it. It's almost kind of like, when they do those documentaries about like the pathology of a murderer or something like that. Like, where did it start? Where did it originate? What does it stem from? Like, this
Hmm.
was something that was long instilled in this person, and now it's just blown up in a way that now you can't deny it. Like, the the patterns, the behavior has always been there. You either choose to bypass it or ignore it, or a lot of people just downright decry it. Like, well, that's not my experience with him, and that may not be your experience with him, but that doesn't negate all of the people who are saying, "Hey, this person, you need to watch out for this." I mean, I kind of felt like he was difficult when I used to watch Making the Band. So there's that.
So, making the band. Well, I kind of got back into rap because of Diddy and Biggie because um, I really wasn't into West Coast rap. Now I am. I'm like, fuck the police. But before, I was just like, no, I can't say fuck the police. Like, I can't do that. And now I'm just like, yeah, fuck the police. But I got back into rap because it was, let's have fun, let's have a party, let's do yada, yada, yada. I like having fun. I like a party. I like the popping bottles aspect of it. But when I saw making the band was when I kind of peeped that this probably is not a good person.
Yeah.
And the fact that MTV, because making the band was on MTV, I can imagine what happened behind the scenes. It's kind of like what's been going on with Trump. Now there's people coming out of the woodwork. I guess their NDAs are
Mm-hmm.
over, and you have a bunch of people coming out. Oh, Trump said the N-word, Trump did this, Trump did that. And I can imagine what they saw and heard behind the scenes of making the band. Aubrey O'Day, the most outspoken member of Danity Kane, has also said, come out like saying, Diddy is not who you think he is. There's something that I wanted to write on Threads. So I've been uh, pretty active on Threads. I'm building a community on Threads. Hi, friends. How are y'all? How y'all doing? And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, I just lost my train of thought. Oh my God. Was hold on, I'm trying to get my train of thought. Okay, it just lost me. It'll come back though, because that's how my brain works. I know what it was. Nope, I lost it again. This is a podcast hosted by a neurodivergent person. This shit's
Right.
going to
It
happen.
happens. Look.
It happens, and I'm old, y'all. But I peeped during making the band that this person wasn't the person that he was cracked up to be. I know what I was saying. This kind of goes along with parasocial relationships, and this is something that I kind of wanted to say during the whole Kendrick Drake beef, which we have to talk about that in another episode.
Right. Listen. Listen,
That's another podcast episode.
oh, that's a whole nother deep dive.
That's a
Uh,
whole other deep dive. Um, what I in regards to that, like parasocial relationships, this is something that Hollywood has kind of ingrained in us from the beginning with having handlers and putting out only good press about the famous people and hiding things that famous people do. We think that someone's famous and they have money, that they're automatically a good person. They're not. They're just like us.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Some of them are psychopaths. Some of them are not very nice people. Some of them have unhealed childhood trauma. Some of them have undiagnosed. No, they're probably diagnosed. They're just not doing anything about it. Mental health. And we kind of fell for it. And one of the things I kind of like now, and this is going on a side tangent, y'all. One of the things I really like is the fact that we are now coming in a dawn of our society where the shiny, bright packaging of the celebrity has kind of been tarnished a little bit. And we're
Mhm.
kind of looking at celebrities like, what are y'all doing? What
Yeah.
is like what?
I
And
mean,
and we're just and I'm kind of glad about it. As someone who had a very, I would say very, very unhealthy parasocial relationship in my teens, and knowing the root of why I had that, and now getting to the point where I'm just like, I just don't assume any famous person or any influencer or anybody. And I say this as someone who low key is not low key, someone who is trying to be an influencer, not so much an influencer, but a content creator. I say that as someone who's kind of trying to be that, is that it's not what you think it is. And
mm,
we have made this curated package of celebrity, and it's all shiny, and we get to go to parties and wear fancy clothes and do all this, and there's like an undercurrent of, hey, but the money couldn't buy you peace. The money could buy you resources for mental health, but are you going to take it? And if you have people around you saying yes to you and telling you every day and twice on Sunday that your shit don't stink, are you really going to do that? And you know what I mean? So we're coming to a point where the celebrities are getting scrutinized, and that's something I'm not happy about it, but I'm glad that it's happening because we really need to realize that famous people and celebrities and content creators and influencers, they're just like us. They're not different.
oh yeah, yeah, they are. And it's funny that you say when you said they just like us. I keep hearing Kendrick. They're just like us. They're just like
I got
it's funny,
right.
they're not like us. Like they're just like us. Yeah,
They're
but
just
also
like
to even further bring up Kendrick. Kendrick said that about Drake too. He said, you thought the money, the power of fame would make you go away. Basically, like once a lame, always a lame. The money makes you more of who you are, and I think that's what a
hmm
lot of people don't get. It's like if there are the money, all that does you get an inflated sense of self because now you have this access that you didn't have before, and it's
right.
like if you don't, if you're not built to handle or balance that out in a way that allows you to move in a healthy manner, yeah, more of what you already were is going to come out because of that power of those resources, that access. And I think that's something that people don't think. And there's a lot of people who are rich who regret being rich. They're like, this crap sucks. Like, yeah, I got money and my family's taken care of, but this is a hassle, And I think we have been given this very westernized lens of this because of the way they frame, our parasocial relationships. And to your point, I am all for the like complete dismantling of parasocial relationships and our attachments to them. And you're seeing some people, a lot of people are very resistant to it because they want to hang on to certain things. And
And hmm
and I think that's the part that like it begs to question, like, we can in one hand say that we have this person who has risen to the top of their craft or their discipline, But in the same vein, they are a human being who embodies the human experience just like we do. They have to go through highs and lows. They have to go through
Hmm.
insecurities. They have to deal with how to manage their relationships, both professional and interpersonal. They have to work on their relationships with themselves. And that is something that people have to be a lot more conscious of, is that, hey, this is a person who just typically this tends to have a little bit more access and power within a capitalistic system. Like,
Hmm.
and you know me, I'll go sociological in a heartbeat,
Right.
but like you have to be able to hold those things together. Like, yes, you can love Diddy for what he's become, as far as what he's been able to provide and create inside of the vein of hip hop in the industry. You know, there's not, and it was funny. I was listening to a podcast a couple days ago, and they were talking about how there's really not an artist working today or maybe 10 years ago that if you looked up their stuff, Diddy hasn't worked with them. Like,
Right.
Diddy has his imprint on a little bit of everything and
Of
everybody
everything.
and every genre. Like, it's not just hip hop that he's been able to,
Exactly.
he's
Right.
able to get in and find his way. It's other genres too. So, you can sit there and say that, like, yes, for the certain level of focus and discipline and push that he's had and been able to create for himself and others around him, yes. But also, with holding that part up, you have to still be able to balance out the fact that this is a person who has not been able to balance out his anger. His name
Hmm.
originated from him get upset. He puff out his chest, and his friends start calling him Puffy. Like, they talk about that in the article,
Yep, they do.
and so it's like that's where his name originated from. You know, after the whole situation where he got into trouble at the club with him and Shine and everything, he switched his name to P Diddy. Like, there's been a consistent rebranding. You have to follow the breadcrumbs. There are clues in that. There is patterns of behavior that have been shown that, like, hey, every time something major happens, we see a rebranding, a reshaping of
That's
his
true.
name. Like,
That's
from
true.
Puffy to Diddy to now Brother Love. I'm like, okay,
Because
y'all. There's a thing called media literacy, and all of y'all are failing right now. Like, all of you are failing. You're all failing right now. You're failing.
I believe there is a documentary, I think it's on Tubi, about not media literacy, reading comprehension, which I feel like ties into that,
Oh,
um,
yes.
where a lot of us can't read, and if we can read, we can't comprehend what we're reading. So that kind of ties into that. I think the reason why it's hard for us to let go of that parasocial relationship is because a lot of us, I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of us that has it, I know for me, I'm going to speak for myself. And I'm sure a lot of people also feel this way too, as I wear my Nirvana shirt. It's an escapism.
Yeah.
It's my life is not where I want it to be. I keep looking at all of these TV shows and all of these glamorous people, and they seem to be having a ball, and they don't have a care in the world, and they have all this money, and they can do whatever they want. And I'm sitting here eating ramen for like the 18th time today, and rent's due, and I don't know how I'm gonna pay it. And so it's a level of escape. And so when that's your escape and that's your coping mechanism, it's very hard to break away from that.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of people, I want to be Diddy, which on its face, that's fine. We need, if you, I mean Diddy in the sense of I want to be maybe a music
Oh,
producer, I want to start a record
oh, no, I
label.
get what you're saying. It's just that I was going to tell you, when I was in high school, my nickname was G Diddy.
Okay. So
Like,
Geronimo wanted to be Diddy too.
I love music. I compose music in my spare time. It's something that I like to do. And at the time when I was in high school, that was when, like, the Saga Continues album came out.
Okay.
Bad Boy for Life, and I was Diddy bopping like it was nobody's business. So, like, yeah, and people used to say I looked like Diddy from a certain angle, which I never saw, but it was like, all right, whatever. So somebody started calling me G Diddy, and it just stuck.
Stuck.
Everybody just started calling me G Diddy at school, and I'm just like, really, you guys, for real? I'm like, and I kind of played into it a little bit because, like, whenever like a Bad Boy song would come on, I start dancing and everything or whatever, But obviously, I finally got away from that, and it wasn't necessarily because I was a huge fan of Diddy. I just thought it was funny, and I played into it. But to your
Right.
point, yes, our parasocial relationships. It's like, guys, y'all haven't seen the Hunger Games? Because uh, what do you think that commentary was about? Hello, I'm
Especially now, like we're
like,
about to enter the Hunger Games. We have a convicted felon and a liable rapist as the presidential nominee. Make it make sense.
make it make sense. Like, we are like District 1 and 12 at the same time. Like, let's talk about it. Like, hey, just put that out there. We're
I
like
mean,
we're 1 and 12 at the same
at the
time. Like,
same time.
make that make sense? Like, come on, y'all.
And I also think too, especially I think for men, Diddy was probably the epitome of this is a successful guy, and he was. And I'm not trying to take away from his talent. I think Diddy was immensely talented. I think Diddy hit at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
But this right here is a very prime example of when you do not heal your broken parts, it will eventually cap your ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've seen it with a lot of people. Yes, are there a lot of other famous people out there who's doing horrible things that haven't gotten capped yet? Yes. Some of them may not ever get capped. Fine. But happened with Cosby, happened with R. Kelly, happened with Weinstein. They all immensely talented men, but there's something in there that was broken within you and you refuse to fix it. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you keep doing things through your trauma and through your brokenness, you continue to do it, you continue to escalate it. No one's telling you no, no one's saying stop. All I all those men that I mentioned at some point felt like, oh, I'm never going to get caught.
Right.
And in R. Kelly's case, these were black kids. You know how we feel, even the black community about the black kids, fuck them black kids. Um, and there were black girls, so fuck those black girls.
Yeah.
Like he probably thought I'm never getting caught. And you got caught, and Bill got caught,
Mm-hmm.
Weinstein got caught, Diddy got caught.
Mm-hmm.
Now these are people these are men with had a lot of resources and a lot of money. Um, your ordinary behind with, $250 in your bank account is definitely gonna get capped. Just
Right.
to the ordinary people doing Diddy shit, you don't have the money to get out of that, and you don't have no $30 million to be paying people. I'm just saying act accordingly.
Facts. You
That's
have no
all.
escape plan. You can't go on the islands. You can't go with Russell Simmons. You can't. You can't be in battle
And
with. And Russell Simmons is another person that's on the list that he's evaded. And my God, there's a
I,
documentary.
yeah, I was just going to talk about it.
Name of the documentary specifically, but I watched it and was like, oh,
I couldn't
oh.
even I couldn't even finish it. I
I
was I was
I, I watched the whole series and I was
I
just
could
like,
I couldn't it's on Cinemax. I'm gonna look it up because now the way my thing is set up, I can look things up now.
yeah. I mean, I know I've watched it on. I watched it on HBO. I forget her name though. Because she was an A&R for
On the
Russ.
record,
Yes, and she worked with Puff.
she
Like, she
did.
worked with Sean. She worked with Sean. She helped Sean with getting Mary J. Blige and Method Man's "You're All I Need." Like yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And I was like, that was her idea. she's a genius. Like what
She's
the
a she's
she's
an
a
absolute genius.
genius.
Um,
What is happening here? She's like,
and so I think I'm halfway through on the record. I had to stop at a certain point because it was really kind of triggering for me, and I was like, I can't watch this, and I haven't watched it yet. But you're right, Russell Simmons is another one that needs to be on that list.
yeah.
And one of the things about the Diddy article that really got me was where he assaulted and filmed.
Mm,
And I really want to talk about that because he showed that to people. The same thing with R. Kelly. And when that R. Kelly tape leaked, you had regular people who were rushing to see a sex tape with a minor. And
hmm
it's not a sex tape. You were watching a rape, basically, and you were okay with it. And I don't know how y'all look at yourselves in the mirror because
I tell people all the time that they should, and I mean, it brings up a very good conversation, and I feel like one of the best ways to even bring that conversation up, and people like laugh at me when I say this, but I'm like, dude, watch the Boondocks episode about that and the varied points of view about that and what Aaron McGruder was trying to say in regards to the black community and how like he was talking about it. Like Aaron McGruder was ahead of his time because it was just
he
like
really was.
he
He
was
really
speaking
was.
way to say like look at the divide and how we specifically are going to bat for this man and we know what's going on now. Some of us were younger, like when the allegations first came out with R. Kelly. That was like what, 2001, 2002 maybe. Yeah, because Best of Both Worlds came out and he was supposed, and they were him and Jay-Z were touring. And I remember that because I ended up buying a ticket and then they canceled the show after the allegations came out. And I was so upset about the show being canceled because I was only like 16 years old at the time. But then when you get older and you realize
Hmm.
like what was going on,
Right.
the heaviness of it, just the complete and total severity of the situation, you're like, he was doing that? Ew. Um, that's a whole different monster. Oh, I was gonna tell you, the documentary is called On the Record. That's what it's
Yeah.
called. On the Record
On the
with
record.
Drew Dixon. Drew Dixon is the name of the woman
It's
that
a
that was.
hmm
So, but yeah, the video recording of that, even just there's just a level of, I don't want to say narcissism. Narcissism just seems like it's too much of um there's a certain level of malevolence to that, to me.
yes.
Like
Yes.
like there's a malevolence present. Like it's malignant and
Yes.
complete, to the point where you're like, what possessed you to think that was okay? Like, explain that to me, because I don't get it. And I don't
I
see what type of internal perversion do you have that like you felt like that was something to do. And I mean, it had to be embarrassing for her. Like, absolutely. The lack of humanity that you had for another person because of your own
I
perversion.
that I think with all of these things, with man versus bear, with manosphere, red pill, man versus bear, all of it, that's what gets me is your lack of humanity for another human being. But when society has ingrained in us that women are second class citizens, and it's been done for, not only has it been done for centuries, but it's been insidious, subtle, and overt at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
when it is creeping into our societal cultural norm, the old ball and chain, gold digger, baby mama,
Mm-hmm.
it's all done to reduce women and strip us of our humanity. and I've said this a long time ago, and I don't know if I've ever articulated it either. I don't think I've ever written about it or said it out loud. But the moment you other someone and the moment you reduce them to objects is the moment you no longer have empathy or compassion for
Yeah.
them. This happened during chattel slavery. We were othered. I don't give a fuck about the people. We weren't even people. We were property at that point. But
Mm-hmm.
but look at how long that's it's 2024.
And it's
People
still,
are still being racist.
I
People
mean, yeah,
still, there's this thing in Wisconsin. The man didn't want his daughter to shake the superintendent's hand because he was black. What
I've been
type of
talking about that all day today on Twitter because I'm from Wisconsin. So of course
I know.
I'm like, really? Like, why do we always gotta be on the news because of some foul shit? Can y'all like I'm like, can y'all chill out for 10 minutes? 10 minutes is all I ask. Like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, my God, it's so
But
annoying. It's annoying. And to the point where you're just like, you know, I mean, the fact that like, Wisconsin also is building a cop city here. Like, what are y'all doing, fam? Like, what are we exactly doing? And to your point about Black women in particular and the way that they're treated primarily, especially when you talk about hip hop culture and you talk about the idea of people's humanity. I think of like the Mammy archetype, the Jezebel archetype. These
yes,
were characters that were created in the means to reduce and make you feel better about how you treated these people. And
girls
these
being fast. That was the prevailing argument that people gave for R. Kelly in regards to those babies. Now, I'm one of those people. If you have a kid, I'm gonna call your kid a baby. I don't care if they're 30. It's a baby. My best friend has three daughters, and I call all of them babies. And the oldest one is, I think, 26. The
mm,
middle one is about to turn 18, and the youngest one, I believe, is 14, 15. But they're babies. How's the babies? They're babies. And I think one of the reasons I do that, I think I definitely subconsciously do it, but I think I do consciously do it because I need people to remember that these are still kind of children. Even if you're 18, 19 years old, you're still kind of a baby.
your brain doesn't fully
15 or
yeah, your brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25. Like
until you're right.
I I I finally consider myself a grown adult now.
Oh,
I
you do? Because I don't, and I'm almost 50, and I'm still
I
like,
mean
I'll
I mean
adult later.
I feel like I feel like I'm in my 18-year-old adult years, kind of like
Okay, 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 okay.
I'm 39, so it's like I'm like okay, I'm about to be 40, so I'm like that's 20. I'm in my 20s in my adult years, because like
Right.
now it's starting to make a lot more sense. Things are starting to make come
Make
together. Yeah,
right.
I'm in that age. I feel like I kind of go through your pubescent teen years in your adult years in your 20s and your 30s because it's like
Yes.
stuff starts to make more sense to you. Things start to click a little bit more. You know,
And for
um,
and for me, I'm living it now because I've lived a lot of my life through trauma. And so now that I'm coming out of living like that, I sometimes feel like I'm 20, 21, 22 when I'm almost 50. And part of me feels bad because it's like I feel like I've wasted a lot of my life. But I have to when I start to think that way, I have to go, no, you didn't waste your life. You got
mm,
this other half that you need to live. So if you want to move to Brooklyn, even if everybody and their grandma and their dog says don't do it, if that's what you want to do it.
exactly.
It doesn't matter. Just do it.
You have to be able to choose your life. Your life has to be an embodiment of resistance. And a society that is trying to constantly tell you and reinforce this idea that you're
Hmm.
not worthy of this or that
Right.
you can't get over these things. Your life now has to become a form of resistance.
Absolutely.
And everything that you do now is in resistance to everything they told you that you couldn't be, that you couldn't do, that you're not capable of. So it's like even me saying this to you right now, like don't think about like, oh yeah, I did this in my, your life hasn't passed you by. You have to be able to have the courage to say your life has just begun.
And that's kind of what I've been saying. Like my life just started. So, circling back, it's a show with a neurodivergent host, y'all. This is how neurodivergent people think. And I'm being really serious. Like, this is how we think sometimes. This is how conversations go with us sometimes. Y'all be all right. Y'all will be just fine. But yes, talking about how we reduce women, hearing grown Black women call 14, 13-year-old babies us and wanting to protect a grown man. This man was in his 30s. Look, I was done with R. Kelly when Kurt Loder told me on MTV that time that he had married Aaliyah. And I'm sitting there like, but Aaliyah's 15. Why is he marrying her? I was like, you know what? This doesn't feel right. And I stopped liking R. Kelly after that. So that was a long time ago because he didn't get
Mm,
canceled then.
nope, he didn't. And a lot of it was because a lot of that was normalized. Like
A lot of that was normalized. Yeah.
my older sister, I remember she was like 14 or 15 dating a 24-year-old. Like, and he lived across the street from us. And she'd go see him all the time. And like that was normalized. And then it's funny, seeing the flip side of it now that you're older, and then like my sisters are getting on my niece about how she dresses and stuff like that, and how she looks when certain family members are around. And I had to,
But that's another thing. Keep going because I know
yeah,
what you're about to get to, and I
and I
want you to
had to
get
tell
to
them,
it.
and I had to tell them, I'm like, wait a minute, why are y'all getting on her when y'all should be worried about them? That's not her fault. Don't put the bearing of that is not on her. Don't place that at her doorstep. That girl is 16, 17 years old. Talk to the adult. Because, and this is the thing that I was like, and they were shocked at me, because it's like, what? I'm like, be honest about it. Why does she have to bear somebody else's lack of self-control because she decided she wanted to wear a tank top? That's not on her. That's on them. Like, don't put that on her. Like, y'all putting this extra responsibility on her when she's just showing up as her. She doesn't have no control of that person.
Right.
Like, he needs to control that. And
Absolutely.
that is a conversation that a lot of people are not really open to having openly and honestly, because it's like,
We,
it's always the like, you got to put your clothes on. What's the face come in the house? Like, no, how about you tell him like, hey, no shifty shit while you here. Like, calm down. Like, you hugging her a little bit too long. Why are you feeling on her like that? That is your niece, not a sexual prospect. What are you doing?
and not only that, when you know the people in your family are predators, why are you letting them around your kid anyway?
Look, listen.
We had one in my family, and my mama told me, she was like, don't you ever be alone with him. And if you are, you leave the room and get out. And it was always, don't talk to him, don't look at him, don't say nothing. At one point, she cursed him out. Like she cursed him out in front of me. I forgot he had said something.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell y'all about my mama. Now, audience members, before I taped, he met my dad. My dad was sitting in here. He wanted to see the beginning of how his daughter does a podcast. And my father's 6'2". My mother is 4'11". She's a little short thing, but she will curse you out in a New York minute. And she was much worse when she was younger. Like she's 71, almost 72. She has mellowed out a lot. But back in her 30s and 20s, she would curse you out so quick and didn't care if it was a family member. Because if you was wrong, you was wrong.
Right.
And,
And
and we were at a cookout, and I forgot what he said because I had to be maybe 8, and she what did you say to her? And cursed him out, and I was just like, okay, and left it alone. We have, I believe this is prevalent in a lot of communities, but I'm not part of a lot of communities. I'm part of the Black community,
exactly.
and as I say, I've been starting this thing on Threads that it seems to have catched on a little bit, siblings and cousins. So My siblings are black people. Y'all are my siblings. The black race are my siblings. And my
Right.
cousins are everybody else. White people, Jewish people, Muslim people, Asian people, all the people.
Right.
Latino people, y'all are my cousins. And black people are my siblings. I don't know what happens in my cousins' community because I'm not really in there. I could just tell you what happens in my community
Mm-hmm.
with my siblings. And siblings, we have a really big issue with coddling our men at the expense of our daughters.
Mm-hmm.
I understand where it comes from, and I understand the feeling and the urgency to do it because we've had black men die because of some fuck shit, mainly by white women. So I get it. At the same time, a healthy community cannot prosper if we let coddle, stick up for, enable the predators in our community. We must call them out and cast them out because we have to be protective of the most vulnerable. And the most vulnerable is not the black man going around trying to rape and sexually assault your female family members who are underage.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it. And if you mad, stay mad. Because you know Kia don't give zero fucks about you being mad. I could care less how
I
mad
mean,
you are.
you can put on the cape and be Superman for all I care. So it's like it is what it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
On the cape and be
But
Superman. But it also in that same vein, and it's funny because I asked this question. I had posed this question to men on TikTok, and it's this idea that because one prevailing conversation that I'm just so tired of with my siblings, my black folks, my black siblings, is this whole thing where we're always trying to compare a black celebrity who's under public scrutiny versus a white celebrity who has probably done the same thing and has not received any backlash or not received any, type of, serious, public
repercussions.
right or repercussions. And I tell people all the time, and people got upset with me, and I was just like, y'all, why would we want to hold Sean, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Trey Songz, Chris Brown to the same
Tory
standard?
Lanez.
Lanes to the same standard as like Weinstein, as Roman Polanski, as Donald Trump, when we know for a fact that our cousins, our white cousins, have shown that they don't have a conscience and they don't care. And when you talk about the aspect of our society, it benefits them regardless. So yes, they're not going to get the same ramifications as a Bill Cosby, as a Tory Lanez, as an R. Kelly, as a Diddy, because of the fact that this is their, at the end of the day, this is their system. Their system is designed to benefit them. Even people who don't even have that much notoriety. Brock Turner raped a woman in the freaking alley, and the first thing the judge said, and they'll go, "Oh, we don't want to ruin his life. His life just started." Fuck his life. What do you mean?
Yes,
But
because every woman wants to have sex unconscious behind a dumpster. That's like my ultimate goal in life.
like, yeah, man, like doing it right here, right next to these flies is really hitting. But the prevailing conversation, I've said, y'all, we cannot hold ourselves to the same standard as them. They prove they
Absolutely.
have no standard. And y'all have to decide, black men specifically, do y'all want equality and access as your white counterparts? Or do you want collective liberatory community with your other marginalized global majority peers? Because that's what you have to decide. You have to choose one or the
Right.
other. When you're talking about black men being both oppressed and oppressors, this is the constant conundrum that we have to deal with on a regular basis. You
Absolutely.
have to choose. You have to be able to choose. Do I want collective community and liberation, or do I want equality and access and the ability to oppress? Because that's pretty much what you
Absolutely.
do by choosing.
Absolutely.
So my whole my thing is with that, when that conversation comes up, I immediately cringe, because why are y'all trying to hold them to the same standard as Woody Allen, Harvey Weinstein, Roman Polanski, and all these others who you know for a fact, Roman Polanski messed around and fled the country. And that man got an Oscar, and they gave him an Oscar televised while he was across the country. Why was he across the country, fam? What was he escaping? He ain't been back to America since.
We want to talk about, and we want to hype up Black excellence. Well, in my opinion, Black excellence means building a safe community for your children,
Mm-hmm.
free of predators.
Mm-hmm.
Girls should be able to be girls.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not the Black excellence that y'all are trying to do, I don't really want anything to be. I don't want nothing to do with that. Because Black excellence isn't the Black person succeeding in the white supremacist capitalistic system. To me, Black excellence is I am going to stand with my brethren, my siblings, because siblings is an inclusive word. I believe in being inclusive. So instead of
Mm-hmm.
saying brethren, my sibling.
Yes.
And when you want well for your siblings, and that includes all of the siblings, it's pride, y'all. You know, it means the gay siblings and the trans siblings and the lesbian siblings and the bi siblings and the asexual siblings, the agender siblings. It's all the siblings, okay? It's all of them. Make
Yep.
it a safe space for the marginalized in your community, Black men.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm talking about our community, our Black community, you are not the marginalized person. It's the
Right.
women and the children and the LGBTQIA.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your marginalized people in your community. I'm not talking about the greater community. I'm talking about Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to break it down to that minute of a detail to understand it, let me help you. If we're talking about the Black community and we really want Black excellence and we really want a thriving community, we're going to have to dismantle that wanting to be the white success standard and
Mm-hmm.
start really building a community where the marginalized people in your community feel safe. And right now, Black women are opting out of dating anyone, okay? We rather get degrees and puppies. And my work assistant is around here somewhere. She's my brother's dog, not mine, but she's my work assistant. I think she's around here somewhere. We rather get puppies and degrees than to be bothered. That's the problem.
I mean, it's indicative of what men have chosen, Black men have chosen to subscribe to.
Hmm.
Like, and I think that's the thing that we have to have a deeper conversation about. But a lot of them are just not ready to have this conversation. Even with like when you talk about that, we're talking about Diddy, and there's an overall encompassing conversation surrounding that and hip hop, and the feeling that a lot of Black women now are being turned off to a lot of their favorite artists. We seen that backlash with Drake when Drake
Yeah.
was shooting shots at Megan, shooting shots at Rihanna, shooting shots at Esperanza Spalding of all people. Like
Like,
she
what
caught a
did Esperanza Spalding? Why she catch a strays for? What she do to you? Reject
right.
you? Is that what it was? She was like, you know what, Drake, you're not my type, and you felt some type of way about it.
Oh, I can tell you exactly what happened.
Who tell me?
He lost best
Oh,
new
that's
artist
to
at the
her.
Grammy, and he's been salty about it ever since. Like, bro, do you realize how long ago that was? You threw a shot at her a year ago, and that happened in like 2000. What I want to say, 11 or 12, when you got when you lost that. Like, I mean, I'm fuzzy on the dates, but it was a very long time ago. And she got best new artist. She won best new artist over Drake,
And
and
and and so
he's been salty about that ever
so
since.
so basically, Esperanza Spalding made a compound in Drake's head, and he's still mad about it. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like I mean, and again, that whole conversation is just like when you see somebody do that, and you see like, okay, you've hidden under this guise of like the nice guy, but then you go on this whole like reckless like almost kamikaze lyrical attack of women, and then you're upset that a lot of the older women are like, nah, we cool, and then now you're trying to cater to the younger crowd because you've lost the older crowd. Like, yeah, there's a
First
reason
of
for it.
all, first of all, I never considered Drake the nice guy. You know what I consider Drake? Drake is that light-skinned dude in high school that's really cute, and everybody kind of gives him a pass because he's cute, and he doesn't really do his work. He sometimes comes to school, but he's really attractive, and so everybody, teachers, and he doesn't disrupt things. You know what I mean? He's kind of like, I'm just gonna come in and do my thing and be cute and whatever. And because even then, teachers, Drake, principal, Drake, underclassmen, Drake, y'all know exactly the light skinned dudes I'm talking about from high school. And I went to an all girls school and I know about the light skinned dude from high school.
We
So
were
please
like,
don't.
we had two of them in our class. We had two of them.
And because everyone was like, oh, Drake, he wants the girl, and the girl's like, you know what, Drake, I'm not really feeling you like that. And then all of a sudden, well, why? I'm the nice guy. Well, okay, but I'm just not feeling you. It's not this, serious. I'm just not
And
feeling you.
if you gotta proclaim that you're the nice guy, you're not the nice guy. You're not the nice guy. Like literally, if that's your argument point off rip, you're not the nice guy.
And so
Like,
he spent the rest of his life, the light-skinned Drake dude, spent the rest of his life being mad that some girl that he wanted in high school didn't want him back. And he's still mad about it. And you're what, almost hitting 40? Bruh, at some point, you're going to have to let that go or find Jesus or talk to your rabbi or get therapy or something.
and it just proves that hip hop is in a state of reckoning. You're talking about 50 years of culture now, and of course, it's it's ingratiated within the industry, but in a way where it's still not accepted and it's still not necessarily valued, only as far as the money that it can produce for the people who allow it to be within the music industry. But as a culture, we're at a very precarious situation and we're at a crossroads, and I think that Sean has spurred this conversation. Drake and Kendrick spurred this conversation because the thing is that Black women have constantly felt, even with their consistent involvement with upholding the culture, being of the culture, they have felt disposable and expendable, from D Barnes to all the way to Megan Thee Stallion. And don't even get me started about that Eminem line off his new song, because my TikTok has been in shambles for the
I
last three
really
days.
need to get back on TikTok. I need to get back on TikTok. So I left TikTok because um I'm not really good at, the filming and the filming of it all, except for this. This is different. Look, don't ask me how is it different, Kia. It to me it's just
Oh, no,
different.
it's different. It's
Oh,
different.
okay. And I started going back on Threads, and I've been building a really good community on Threads. Again, hey, friends. And I think that's my niche is Threads, because to me Threads is Twitter, without Elon Musk.
Right.
I'm all for that. I mean, it has this it has, but it's not Elon Musk.
Right.
So I need to get back to TikTok just so I can see what's going on, because I've been kind of exclusively on Threads. It was like, okay, I think I'm going to concentrate on Threads because it seems to be more receptive to me here, and I'm able to, gain people and talk about my podcast and get people to watch it. Hopefully, I just need 300 subscribers, y'all, and like 1,000 views. So, or something like that to get monetized. That's the goal. And so I'm just like, I am sure that I've missed a lot of things, a lot of things that happened, because we've been talking about that on Threads too. We've been talking about the Emmett thing. Um, we've been talking about Man versus Bear. We've been talking about Sean Combs. We've been talking about Kendrick Drake. I think the Kendrick Drake thing really, I think, is starting like Black Threads, like Black
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, Black
Mm-hmm.
Threads. And so I think it's continuing to grow. But
I'll say what you want to say. Cause I see it. I see it. I'm looking at you like, oh, she is biting her tongue right now.
I,
say,
I am
what
because
you,
I
say what you need to say. No, 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 no. This your podcast. I'm just a guest. I'm just fortunate, man. I'm just fortunate, you know. Go ahead, say what you need to say.
I I am very fortunate enough that I have Black men following me on threads that are, I would say they're decent dudes from what I've seen. Do I think I know these people? No, because who knows anyone on there?
Right.
You know what I mean? But I do sense a level of authenticity with them, and they're a lot like you. Like, okay, we're gonna cut out this bullshit. We're gonna cut out this misogynist bullshit. We're gonna cut out this patriarchal bullshit. The amount of people that aren't like them bothers me a lot.
Mm.
And one of the things I'm kind of like, I'm known for a lot of things on threads, but one of the things I do is I ask these questions and I'm just really out about it. Like, men, why do you hate women so much? Of course, I never get an answer, right? I never get an answer. I've asked men, why do you hate women so much? I've asked white people, what specifically has Black people done to you as a group to
They
make
can't
you
even
not like us so much?
they can't even tell you. That's the crazy part about it. They can't even tell you, and the reason why they can't even tell you is because they themselves just don't know. They've just been taught and subscribed to this idea that like I need to not like these people. These people don't deserve this or that or the
And
third.
and it's just,
Men,
hmm
men, it's like well, I have to be a man, and as a man, I have to be able to. I have to do this and that and this and that, and I'm supposed to treat women like this because that's what I've known and that's what I've seen and that's what I've experienced and that's what I've been exposed to. Nobody really has a sufficient response to that because they don't even know. And
hmm
then when you ask them that, it's like their brain short circuits. It's like, wait, what? Yeah, I'm asking you this question because clearly there's something here that's unspoken. And the problem is that it's there, but you don't even know why it's there. You don't even know where it stems from. Like,
right.
and that is a hard thing for them to wrestle and grapple with because now they have to wrestle and grapple with the fact that you've been programmed, you've been indoctrinated, you have been taught to subscribe to this belief or this idea, and that requires you to be self-aware and to acknowledge it. And then now that you acknowledge it, you can't hide it no more. You got to work with it now, and that's the scary part. That's the scary part for them.
It's the
That's the scary.
uncomfortableness of looking at yourself in the mirror and go, you know what? I subscribe to this. I was taught this and I subscribed to it and I believed it and now I'm a sucker. And it's like, no, you're not a sucker because guess what? I used to subscribe to it too. I used
We
to be
all.
a I used to I used to be a pick me. I used to My whole personality would be catered around, well, I'm gonna do whatever this guy likes, and whatever he likes, I'm gonna like, and I'm not gonna have any type of distinct personality whatsoever, and that will get me a husband. I don't have a husband, never had a husband. Now I don't even want one. I'm like, I don't even need a husband at this point. I'm good. But I think a lot of it, some of it is I subscribe to this. I've othered other people. I've done things with words and actions that was unkind and unchristlike and uncaring.
Mm-hmm.
What type of person does that make me if I've said and done things that was unkind and uncaring and unchristlike because I've been taught that?
Mm-hmm.
What it makes you as a human being, because we've all have been programmed. It is the biggest fucking marketing scam white people have ever come up with since they came up with it. We've been doing it for millennia and we're still fucking doing it. And no one has decided to just cut it off and be like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense.
And it's not, and like we know it's not working, but it's just like, well, we're so used to it now. Like it's
And
like, and that's the
that's
part.
and that's another part. Well, nothing's gonna change and we're just used to it. Okay. Um, I don't want to be used to it I don't want to live like this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't, I went from being very angry and very upset and competing with women over men. And then I think about it now, I'm just like, the time these men wasn't even worth competing over. Worth competing over. They probably didn't wash their ass. They couldn't hold a conversation. They, had no type of ambition or motivation or any goal whatsoever except maybe to be a SoundCloud rapper. And I'm like, okay, that's all well and good and everything, but you got another job or something? Like, you got something else going on? It's like I decided that I don't want me as a person to be reduced to what value I bring to a dude because I bring a lot of value just as myself. There are
Right.
aspects of myself that I really like and I want to share with people. And then I just decided if I'm going to be with somebody, I want them to like me for me. Do I bust out in song every once in a while? Yes. Do I do jingles every once in a while? Yes. Do I spin around? Well, I'm on the autism spectrum, so that's a yes. I do all manners of things, and it's like this is who I am as a person, and I'm not necessarily embarrassed by it. So why am I hiding it for romantic interest? Like I'm not doing that anymore, and I'm not competing with a woman anymore. The moment a woman has interest in a guy that I'm interested in, if he's going to entertain that attention, I don't want him.
Facts. I
You can
get you.
have him. Go ahead. I'm all right because I really am all right.
Yeah.
I don't want to erase other people's humanity. I don't want to come off the bat being unkind to people. I don't want another group of people. That's like me saying, you know what? I really hope the MAGA people just die and fall off the face of the earth. I don't necessarily want that. What I want is for them to realize that this is hurting you too. Like you're not benefiting from it. You're being used as a pawn in a political game. And at the end of this, if they don't win, they're not going to care about you anymore.
Right.
And if they do win, unless you have some type of money or resource or whatever, they're not going to care about you again. You're literally being used. And the moment you stop being useful is the moment that you get thrown away. And then what? Are you going to be more upset and more angry and more whatever? Like, I want everyone to have free health care, even the MAGA people. I want everyone to have nutritious food, even the MAGA people. I want everyone to have affordable housing and a clean, safe space to live, including the MAGA people. Like, I don't want to take humanity or dignity away from anybody. But for whatever reason, other people tend to want to do that to different groups. Men tend to want to do that with women. We tend to want to do it a lot with children. And I think the reason we want to do it with children is because children are at an age where we kind of have to help them out, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, we have to take care of them. And so when you think of that, you kind of think of the kid as, well, this is my property and I have to take care of them.
Yeah.
I think of kids as they're just tiny human beings. And while they may be mine, they came from me. I don't have no kids, but I'm just saying if you did, if I had a kid, I would be like, my child is my own person, but I'm kind of their steward. My job is to nurture them and clothe them and educate them and love them and support them, but also know that this kid may end up thinking completely different things that I do. I mean, look at Jesse Waters from Fox and his mom. His mama trolled him, and then he went on Fox and told everybody, "Yeah, my mom trolled me." Like, I mean, his mom, it sounds like she's a progressive, but look at who she raised. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what kid we're going to get
Right.
because
And that's true.
they're their own person. And I think we sometimes think, well, this is my kid. I want my kid to do this, that, and the third. And they may not ever do that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it too is understanding that, you got to allow them to find their own way. Like, yes, do you try to steer them in specific directions? Yeah, when it's necessary.
when it's
Um,
necessary, right?
you don't imposing what you went through or imposing what you've been taught may not necessarily work for them. It's getting them to think critically. It's getting them to see that there's options out here, getting them to see that there's different ways of being and ways of existing, and trying to find the way that speaks to them and who they are at their core. And being able to still love them and watch them grow and nurture whatever path they take, as long as that path is not hurting anyone. I think that's the main component. As long as
Yes.
it's not hurting anybody, let them grow however they want to grow. You know, and I think that is the biggest job of a parent, is to really just
Mhm.
help them figure out their way, and once they find their way, support them as they make their way, and just make sure that they're able to not only recognize their humanity, but then teaching them to see the humanity in others. And the problem is that when it comes to this idea of amassing power, because ultimately this is what this whole conversation is about. In
Mhm.
order to have power, somebody's humanity has to be compromised. For
Absolutely.
you to be able to have power, somebody's humanity has to be compromised, has to be stripped, and has to be removed. And it's not the person that's getting the power.
Right.
It's never that. You know, um, the goal should be to empower people in the way that allows them to live freely, joyfully. That serendipity is constant. If you're not doing that, what are you doing? Like what are we even doing here?
Yep.
I think that's our current conundrum as human beings, is like, how do we, with everything that's going on now, Sean Combs, Palestine, Congo, Tigray. I just learned about Tigray like a couple of days ago. I'm just like, what is going on? Haiti, like, all these things going on is a result of people, whether it's a group of people, one person, whoever, looking at other people and removing their humanity in such a way that you can justify the indignity and injustices that you are placing upon them and putting at their doorstep. How can you do that and call yourself an empathetic human being or a
Or
human at
brother
all?
love. Like, how can you do that and call yourself brother love? That's like the complete antithesis of that.
Yeah, complete antithesis. Like, I'm like, really? Like, are you serious? Are you serious? I'm like, what's the like you?
You missed
I mean,
you missed a couple classes there, Sean. You can't, you're not brother love. Like, that's not brotherly love. That's
no,
that's control, and that's control and wanting access to people. Just like you said, like we both have said it throughout this hour and 19 minutes. The thing with Sean Combs that's at the core of it, and it's at the core, I think, of humanity and how humanity lost its way, is stripping humanity from others that you think are inferior to you.
mm-hmm,
Sean Combs thinks, probably, I'm just hypothesizing, that women are inferior to him, along
yes,
with other certain people that don't
yeah,
have money, people who don't have connections, people who don't have resources. All of these people are inferior to me. Sex workers, because he used a lot of sex workers.
mm-hmm,
Like, that was disturbing as well. His use of sex workers, because you basically use sex workers and have these sex workers assault another person against their will. And that to me
right.
is some gross ass shit.
Yes, yes, it is. To chase somebody in a hallway and hit them, stomp them, you have to think less of them in order to even feel like that is even justified. You got to.
Yeah.
There's no way that you can do that and you think that that person is your equal, or you think that they're worthy of care, respect, protection, love. There's no way that you can do that. Those things have to be pretty much non-existent to
Hmm.
be able to just stand over somebody and do something with such impunity. And and then you have the nerve and the gall to call yourself brother love. There's no way. There's no way.
And I think I need for the global population to understand that about different things. I need for the MAGA people to understand that Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan and Tommy Tuberville and all those other people, they are also stripping you of your humanity because
Mm-hmm.
they are using you as a pawn. When someone has to manipulate and use you, they don't think of you as a human being on equal footing with them. Because
Yeah.
because if I think of you on equal footing, I don't want to manipulate you. I don't want to use you for my benefit because that's all that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I need for them to kind of wake up and go, I'm being used. No one likes being used. Not one. I don't know of anyone that's like, you know what? I really like being used. Sign me up. I like another dose of that. No one likes that because it makes you feel stupid. It makes you feel foolish. And I think that is part of it. Like, well, if I stop believing this, then I look foolish. Okay. Everybody that looks foolish at one point in time, you work through it and go on with your life. But I need for everybody, siblings and cousins, to realize that when you strip the dignity and humanity of a group of people and you deem them somehow inferior, and this is for both sides of the political spectrum because I see it with progressives in regards to MAGA. I see it more with MAGA in regards to progressives. I see it with religious people versus non-religious people. And we don't even want to get into that again, another podcast episode. Because
we got we got some episodes to do.
we got some episodes to do, like because my Christian behind, yes, I am a Christian. I am still a Christian. But my Christian behind did not vote against gay marriage. My Christian behind voted for it because I want my gay siblings and cousins to be able to marry and have that protected by law.
Right.
I did not, yes, I'm a Christian. I don't vote against abortion because abortion is health care. And if I, as a Christian, do not believe in abortion and don't want one, then my choice is not to get one. My choice is not to take the choice away from other people.
Exactly. Like if it's not for you, it's not for you.
It's not for
But
you.
but but just because it's not for you doesn't mean that somebody else won't need it. It doesn't mean that somebody else probably would not benefit from it. And I think that's the thing. People are looking at this idea of like, is it going to benefit me? Does it benefit my, how I look at things and my morale and and the way that I see the world? Or can I look at it in a way that's actually is going to benefit the community and society as a whole?
And
And
we don't think that way
I think that way.
because capitalism and the white cousins kind of told everybody not to. And it's really funny. They had one clear, lucid thought and ran with it and has been running with it since then.
Ever since
And it's
then,
been
like
mediocrity ever since. And then everything else has just been mediocrity. But they had one really lucid good thought.
yeah, and was like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna work great
This is going to be
for
awesome. For who?
for the world is in shambles." Like, literally, do you not have you not been outside? Y'all need to go touch grass because the world is in shambles, people.
And I think you have
Like,
a group of people who want to uphold it. And then you had another group of people, because I felt like this throughout Diddy's article, you had another group of people that was just scared. I
oh
don't
yeah,
I don't want to get caught in the crosshair. I don't want him to be mad at me. I don't want him to lose my job. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want my career to stall. And I absolutely understand and sympathize with all of that. But at some point, I personally just feel like your integrity or your sense of like true righteousness, not this bullshit righteousness the
right,
evangelicals are talking about, but your sense of righteousness and your sense of compassion and your sense of seeing your sibling or your cousin in distress and then seeing another sibling and cousin doing the distressing, you would want for both of those people to heal. This, I'm not sitting there like Sean, I want Sean Combs to have to meet the consequences of his actions. I want justice served.
Right.
I do not, under any circumstances, want whatever he did to others to do to him. Because I still, through all of this, I still see his humanity.
Right.
Because
Like that's not just
I'm not going to let go of that because you decided you wanted to be a degenerate. And let's just keep it above. All of this was degenerative behavior based on some innate need inside of you to do whatever. But just because you did that to someone doesn't mean that I'm going to do it to you. I'm going to be better than that and go, yes, you have to do your time for what you did to people.
right.
But I want you to be rehabilitated. I want you to be healed. I want you to come out of this better. It gives me no no satisfaction to go, I hope he gets raped I don't want anyone to get raped. I don't want the people who raped me to get raped. I don't want that for them.
Right. I mean, I think that's the thing. It's just like we have to think about what is it what for a person to be held truly responsible for their actions. What is it for a person to really see like the wrong that they've done and find a way to rehabilitate. And
And make
a lot of
amends.
times, right, and make amends. And a lot of times restorative justice is hard to practice because people feel like, well, you committed this atrocity, so there's no redemption for you. Like, I think that there is a possibility for Sean to be redeemed. Now, do I think that for everybody? Not necessarily. And
Hmm.
that's, I mean, maybe that's my journey to deal with because,
Okay,
like,
so let's talk about
I
that.
don't think, I don't think that Bill Cosby or R. Kelly can be redeemed. Like,
Okay.
you got Bill Cosby has like 30 plus years of behavior. At this point, it's like, bruh.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
At this point, it's like, bruh. Like at some point, you have to be able to look at this and be like, you know what? R. Kelly has, close to the same dang near. Like you talking about the 90s to like 20 something plus years of this behavior.
And we
Even when you were and even when you were initially on trial for the initial allegations, you didn't think that like, you know what, I should stop. Like this is I got away this time, but maybe I should chill and relax and go seek help or do something because clearly like this was a warning. The universe is trying to, hey, bro, you might want to pump the brakes on this behavior real
you have
quick,
to
and you still continue,
you
and
have to
then you
believe
may
that though.
try to make light of it,
But
like
you have
oh,
to believe that. Like, so me and you disagree. I do believe that everyone can be redeemed.
and like I said,
So,
that's my cross
and
to bear.
that's your cross to
I
bear, and that's cool. And this is why I
that is
think and this is why I think everyone can be redeemed. The redemption has to be up to the person seeking it. We can't redeem the person. The person has to want to be redeemed.
redeeming. Agree.
At the
I agree with that.
And I think that anybody of any stripe, of any age, if that's what you truly want is redemption and you truly feel sorry, I believe you can be redeemed. But you have to want it. Now, sifting through all of whatever bullshit you had, whether it's programming, whether it's thinking your shit doesn't stink because, I'm Bill Cosby and I created Fat Albert and The Cosby Show and blah, blah, or I'm Sean Combs and, he did in a small did he I wouldn't say revolutionize, but he brought a different aspect of hip hop to hip hop. So let's put it that
Oh yeah,
way.
we saw the shiny suit era from
That's
'96.
the shiny suit
The
era.
shiny suit era was a thing.
Right.
Him, all of them was into that. So the shiny suit era was
Was
a
a
thing,
thing.
and he was
He was
responsible for that
responsible
for
for
sure.
that. But you have to work through all of that and your ego. And you have to
Right.
want to do it. You have to work through your ego. You have to look at yourself and go, I've done some horrible, fucked up shit.
Yes.
And
I,
I am truly sorry for the horrible, fucked up shit I did. I think the reason why a lot of people don't want to do that is to reconnect it to the whole punishment thing. We want bad people punished. We don't want bad people rehabilitated.
Right. And I think there's this thing around some involving shame and
Yes,
how and in that you want these people to forever feel that because a lot of people carry on this thing where like the your victims are always going to feel this, so you should be able you need to feel this too. And I'm like, while that may be true, but do you want somebody to constantly be reminded of the person they used to be if they're trying to
absolutely.
be better?
Right.
Like, I think those are questions we have to ask ourselves. Like, what does forgiveness actually look like? And yeah,
Yes,
do
absolutely.
do people who experience and go through trauma at the hands of other people struggle with getting over those things? Absolutely, of
Absolutely.
course. But at the same time, it's like in order for them to move on and for the perpetrator to move on, at some point, yeah, their roads got to diverge, and the person that was the perpetrator at some point can't sit there and keep walking around with this shame over their shoulders forever, especially if they're going out of their way and they're really seeking the redemption and trying to be better than what they used to be.
And
If you're constantly reminding this person that you did this and you did that like 20 years ago, and they are a completely different person,
mhm,
they're even doing things to make sure that they don't go back to that.
right.
Constantly reminding them of that misstep, yeah, can be like you're scaling them back when they're trying to go forward, and now you're an impediment to their redemption, to their ability to be better people
And
because you're constantly reminding them what they used to be.
And to add to that, if we keep shaming people, and to be clear, everybody, we're not talking about people who fake apologies and ain't nobody talking about redeeming Sean Combs now because Sean Combs has shown us he's not ready for that.
And that apology was trash.
And the apology was absolute utter trash, and he's not ready for that.
They
We are
yeah,
talking
they owed
we are talking about people who truly are sorry for the harm that they have caused and has changed their behavior.
mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about. Because if we continue to shame the people who truly sorry for what they've done and truly seeking redemption, well, what's the point of doing all of this if you never gonna forgive me for it? I might as
Right.
well just stay the person I am. And truth be told, there's a lot of people who feel that way. It's like, well, I'm not going to change because ain't nobody going to forgive me for the shit I did. I said I was sorry and I tried to do right. But everybody was like, you did so and so, so fuck it. I'm going to keep doing it. And I mean, can we really blame someone for that mindset?
Yeah, and it's like you're taking accountability and you're making it to equate a perpetual cycle of shame.
Yes,
It's like you're making them walk the town like Cersei, and you're whipping them the entire way around King's Landing to make sure they make sure that they realize like, yo, you are a terrible person, and you will never allow you to forget this ever in life. And it's like at some point, if it's like God knows how many years, and they have made actionable steps and taken actionable steps to be better, the shame at some point has to dissipate.
I
You know,
agree.
and again, as somebody who doesn't feel like Cosby can be redeemed, who doesn't feel like R. Kelly can be redeemed because they haven't shown any inkling that they want to be redeemed, it's like, but if somebody is really saying, you know what, I am really trying my best to be better because I want to be better, and I'm taking the steps, I'm doing these things, I am, I made an apology to this person for harming them. I'm working on, my issues internally, then that's a totally different story. Then we got to look at it different.
We have
We
to
got
look
to
at it
look at it.
different.
We have to look at it different because I feel like sometimes even in our bloodlust for accountability, because it turns into a bloodlust.
Yes,
Like, society demands swift justice. And in that swift justice, we don't stop to think like, yo, this is a human being who in their human experience has realized they have stumbled, they have failed, and now they're being humbled. And now they're saying, okay, now that this has happened, I'm removing and stripping my ego,
right.
and I am then be better now.
And we also have to take into account a lot of people do horrible things because horrible things were done to them. R. Kelly is a sexual assault survivor himself.
Mm-hmm.
As
He is.
as June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month,
Yes.
we are, I mean, and I don't have grace for him, but I have compassion for what he's gone through as a sexual assault survivor myself. I have some compassion for what he's gone through. Now, it doesn't negate all the harm you've caused to people. It doesn't
Right.
negate that because those women, those girls, a lot of them are always going to be stuck at 14, 15 years old. This is something
Mhm.
that is talked about a lot in the trauma community. When you experience a trauma, your brain and you're underage, your brain kind of stops at that age you experience that trauma. So you're talking
Mhm.
about women who may be 30 years old now or late 20s, early 30s, maybe mid 20s. I'm really bad with timelines and stuff. They're still kind of 15, 16, 14 years old.
And some of those girls, are still like just barely over 20. Some of them, like
Right.
some of the most younger ones that experience that, they're just now hitting their 20s.
20s.
They're young, and so they're stuck in this frame of mind because it's like that's where everything happened. And like, how do you process that? How do you reckon with that as a survivor, somebody who was
And
victimized?
and I think for R. Kelly, I'm not speaking for R. Kelly. This is just Kia's opinion. I think for him, in some ways, he normalized it, thought it was okay, and then went on to do it.
Yeah. Oh, he rationalized
He
it at some
rationalized
point.
it. And
Definitely rational.
and may all I can say is may God be with him. So to wrap this up, um, this is a really good talk too. This is really
Oh yeah.
good. This is really
Yeah,
good.
we get going, we
We
get
could
to
keep
going.
right. For people
Or we get to going.
for people who don't know, the
So
first time he was on my show, it was 2 hours and I had to do two parts. And I'm like, we're not doing another two parts. But we could easily do another two parts, but we're not doing
listen.
that. But to wrap it up, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to keep this part in. I'm going to put it at the end. As I told people, I was writing for my Substack, and I'm still trying to get back into the rigors of writing, and it's still kind of hard. I'm still at the point where I can't connect my thoughts to what to write in a long form way. But when the bear versus man controversy happened, I was on a thread, and um, a fellow mutual, we now follow each other, her child drew the cutest little bear. And so I'm going to put the drawing of the bear at the end of this podcast because I should have put it in my Substack and I haven't done it yet. But there was a very budding artist that drew the most adorable bear. And when this episode publishes, we're going to show the bear.
That's funny.
So to the budding artist, you're going to be on the podcast. Your drawing will be on the podcast. We're going to show the bear as just like an ending to, this podcast, something nice and cute to end this because, woo dog, this was a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you gotta end it on something
I'm
light,
gonna end it on
'cause
something light, and I'm gonna end it on the budding artist rendition of a bear. And just FYI, this bear is so cute. I date this bear because since men think we want to date bears, I was like, how did you just completely
yeah.
like?
Look. When I tell you, I made a video about the whole thing, and the one thing I told people was that the problem with this conversation is that y'all took women choosing the bear and y'all turned it into something that it was completely not, and y'all individualized it when they were making a just generalized statement as far as what they go through daily navigating men as a collective. And y'all turned this into a whole situation that it couldn't have been, that it wouldn't have been had y'all just kept your mouth shut and not take it so personal. And I think that's a deeper conversation.
That's another
That's a
conversation. That's
whole
another
nother episode.
conversation.
That's a whole nother episode. But it is important that men understand, and from that point of view, like I always tell people, if it don't apply, let it fly.
Right,
Because if it doesn't say, if it doesn't ring true about you, you wouldn't take it so hard or take it to heart. There wouldn't be something that's viscerally getting you to react.
right,
You're being reactionary to somebody else's lived experience and somebody else's way of navigate, way that they have to navigate life, and you're taking that and you're now imposing it upon yourself because you felt some type of way. And that whole conversation, oh my, when I tell you TikTok was in shambles, and then white woman whisperer, she took that joint and she even flipped it for black women. She was
I
like,
saw that,
black,
and I heard she got banned.
she got demonetized. The white women went crazy. When I tell you, they went like, she's still on there, but they got her demonetized. So it's like a lot of her major content now is on her Patreon. But yeah, they showed their ass when she posed that question.
White
And
cousin,
I'm talking
I know. I already know. You
white
don't have
cousins
to
and
tell you what.
white male siblings went absolutely ridiculous.
White cousins, y'all need to gather your people. I've said this several times today on Threads. Y'all need to gather your people because y'all peoples are unwell. We are in this hellscape because of y'all. Either you directly caused it, you enabled it, or you
Mm-hmm.
sat there and said, well, this shit ain't got shit to do with me and did nothing. Either way,
Mm-hmm.
whatever group you're in, you're responsible.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, y'all need to fix it. Because I know us black women are tired of fixing shit that y'all fuck up. We ain't fuck shit up. We gonna vote for Biden, y'all. We voting for Hillary, y'all. We voting for Biden, y'all. We voting for so and so. Like we didn't fuck any of this up. And so we're tired of cleaning up your messes. Y'all gonna
Yeah.
have to get a broom and something and start to and a mop and start to sweeping and mopping because I
Yeah, because
personally ain't
like,
doing it no more.
yeah, it's to a point where, like, it's to a point where white people have to collectively accept responsibility for the mess that they made, accept the call to, you know, gather each other and say, look, we as a collective are responsible for this. We have to fix this. Like, we have to find a way to fix this because clearly, you know, the burden can't be on the marginalized folks to fix a mess that we didn't even create. Like, y'all want us to be responsible. Y'all want everybody else but y'all who created this mess to fix it. Like, it can't be like that. Just like with, you know, it's up to black men to fix the mess we made as far as how we've subscribed to patriarchy, misogyny, sexism, and all of that. Like, we can't base that on black women. We can't put that on women, period. Like, that's our mess. And it's like people who are in spaces or reigns of power and privilege have to be able to say, because I've subscribed to this, I have contributed to this mess,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to be just as adamant about helping clean it up as I was as helping make the mess. Like,
And
so,
that's that's a word that we are going to end on tonight. Geronimo, thank you so much for coming back.
as I said, you know, anytime, it was a
Anytime.
pleasure. And I had fun. Always, I always walk away from these interactions feeling empowered, and you know, yeah. To the next
To
episode.
the next episode. And please stay tuned, everyone, for the drawing of the bear by, I'm just going to call the child a budding artist. But I'm going to make sure that I put this on Threads so their mom can show them their art has been displayed appropriately. You're going to see the bear after this. Guys, it's been great. Geronimo, thank you. My name is Kia Dotson, and this has been another episode of I Got a Lot of Things to Say. Check you later. Bye.